Hi, everyone. Before we get to our premiere presentation today, my exclusive sit-down interview with billionaire philanthropist Frank Giustra, just a reminder that we at ITM Trading have put together a Danny report that you can download for free. It's a summary, a compilation of the best insights, education, and knowledge that I have learned over the course of my 20-year career covering this sector. And you can get it for free simply by going to dannyreport.com. I hope you will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed compiling the information for you all. Now let's get to our very special presentation. Back to his roots in his birthplace of Italy, we reconnect with Frank Giustra, a man whose passion for the past and future knows no bounds. We've spoken on numerous occasions, but today, Frank wanted to delve into a variety of subjects close to his heart. Our adventure begins with truffle hunting, where we reconnect with the earth. We also learn a profound truth that when we respect nature, she will provide us with everything we need. He then shares his thoughts on the importance of good food, a campaign he passionately champions to inspire change in America. Our journey then takes us to a rare Etruscan archaeological site, a glimpse into an empire that thrived 600 years before succumbing to the Romans, a poignant reminder that all empires, no matter how grand, ultimately fail. And be sure to stay tuned for the end, where our conversation takes a deep and unexpected emotional turn, revealing the profound connections that shape our lives.
So this is, just for everybody's information, this is a secret location, okay?
Secret.
Da piazzola, da rosa, che vuol dire la rosa, tutte le piante hanno la chioma, leaves, sotto,
Sì.
dove sono le piante, fanno i tartufi sulla rosa. Ma non solo, il tartufo bianco può arrivare a 50-60 metri dalla pianta, perché le roots, la radice che dà il tartufo non sono quelle grandi,
Sì.
possono essere quelle grandi e quelle nuove, ma anche quelli del micro-rice. It's possible to pay 1,000 euro for kilo.
1,000 euros
for
per kilo.
You guys are one of the best in Italy, in the country, for truffle hunting.
Penso di sì.
Okay, penso di-
certo.
quindi-
White
No,
truffle hunting.
White truffle. So is gold the white truffle and silver is the
Black,
brown,
black,
the black
truffle.
truffle?
Absolutely,
All
100%. Black truffle is, they say the silver is the poor man's money.
Yeah. Wait.
No, black truffle, tartufo nero, patata. Dai.
No.
No, patata.
But where's the star, the real star of the show, Argo?
Vedrai
Where's
quando...
Argo?
Where's Argo?
Come on.
Come on.
I know that Miguel is in love with Argo, like in love. He shares more secrets with Argo than he does with his girlfriend.
Yeah. No, infatti, no, the Argo is very important,
Yeah.
ma no only Argo.
I know.
Because,
He's 30%,
no.
you're 30%, and 30% luck.
No,
No, 30%
location.
location, right?
And 1%,
Luck.
luck, why? It's only like luck because...
It's hard work.
No, that one year, another year, I find the truffle. But the same deep, it's possible the luck is a more big. 1%, only for this. It's a rain too much, and when it rain too much, che piove tanto, il tartufo ha molta più acqua e nutrizione e può essere più grande.
All
Dunque,
right, let's
incontra-
do it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Incontrano 10 lupi.
Andiamo.
Let's
Andiamo.
go.
Argo! Andiamo! Ehi! Dove? Tutti tu!
There we go.
Che c'è? Dove Argo? Su che c'è, dai, su! Bravo! Argo.
Bravo, Argo.
Bravo, amore mio! Bravo!
Good.
Numero uno.
This is the most interesting thing that I heard all day, is how the moon works and what things you can do under certain moon conditions.
Allora,
Go on.
the sun, il sole, è molto forte, dunque riflette la luce, e invece la luna è molto soft, entra nel terreno e fa così che crescono i
Ma è stesso per tutti i pianti,
Sì.
tomati,
Sì,
tutte cose.
tutte le piante. Allora può fare una quercia, un cerro, può fare un pioppo, tutte le piante. E anche la luna è importante anche per i vegetali, per tutta l'agricoltura, rispetto della natura.
Right.
Rispetto, se rispettiamo Frank, se rispettiamo la
Respect the
natura,
land,
Yes.
always respect the
no,
land.
se la rispettiamo la natura lei ci dà tutto. Senza natura è un casino. Come on.
You want me to
No,
throw
you.
this?
Esatto.
How come you're not down there?
You're the gold miner.
Energia, guarda, questa qua, questa è la terra, ti dà energia la terra. E ora tutti i bambini, tutti col telefono. Tutto.
Social media.
Yeah, see, it's,
E invece questa, quando si sporcano con la terra, questo è il vero
Yes.
divertimento.
spiaggia.
Vai.
I love that.
Qui la sabbia è ancora più soffice di prima, quindi il tartufo, le dimensioni possono essere più grandi.
Frank! So here we are after a full day of truffle hunting. What an experience. Covered in truffle dirt.
Look at this. We succeeded.
What's more exciting, gold mining or truffle mining?
I mean, I really enjoyed the truffle mining today. That was a lot of fun. I even stuck my nose right in the dirt, and it was fun.
I mean, I know how much gold means to you, and
Yeah.
obviously all the successes and more successes you're creating with West Red Lake and Aris and your latest silver. But people might not know that your true passion
It's food.
is food.
Yeah, always has been.
Hence the olive oil business, right? The publisher and the founder of the publication Modern Farmer. You launched a Million Gardens movement, which basically is inspiring people to really go back to their roots and garden, because you're not going to get the real deal at Whole Foods, right?
No.
Why have you taken on this campaign, this crusade?
Yeah, well, you know, it all started when I was a kid. So we were immigrants to North America. We came from Argentina. And I remember even as a 9-year-old when we arrived in Canada, and I started to look at what all the kids were eating. And it was just unfamiliar to us. We grew up on the Mediterranean diet. I've lived on the Mediterranean diet my entire life. That's what my mom cooked. It was fish, vegetables, olive oils, nuts, fruits, all the wholesome foods. And we came to North America, and I started to notice that, kids ate a lot of chocolate bars, potato chips, and generally processed foods, okay? So I've had this thing against processed foods my entire life. And then I started to actually learn about it. And the problem, if you're in North America, the media does not talk about how poisoned the food is in North America. Literally poisoned. It's almost criminal what they allow in North America, the type of ingredients that are not allowed here in Europe. There's almost 2,000 ingredients that are banned in Europe that are still being used in processed foods in North America. And the mainstream media doesn't talk about it because who are their biggest advertisers? The food industry and the pharmaceutical industry. Biggest advertisers. Actually, the pharmaceutical industry, is responsible for 47% of ad profits for all the mainstream media. Americans consume 45% of the world's pharmaceutical products. Think about that for a moment. 45% of
It's
global.
staggering.
It's staggering.
Yeah.
And why? Because, it's my belief, they're being poisoned by the food, and then they have to take all of these meds. And and when I say poison, it's everything that's things that are carcinogenic, things that cause diabetes, hypertension, respiratory illnesses, you name it. It's known to be caused by certain ingredients that are still
Why does
used.
the government allow it?
Because the lobby industry in America, as with everything in America, it's all about the bottom dollar. And the lobby industry is out of control. They literally spend billions of dollars a year romancing Congress to prevent legislation from protecting the public. And it all started with the tobacco industry and the fossil fuel industry, but now it's the food industry and the pharma industry. Some of the biggest lobby spending comes from food and pharma. And so legislation is prevented from being passed. And what's happening that's really, the part that's almost criminal, is that the food industry is now using the same playbook that was used by the tobacco industry to fool the public, to dismiss reports that are negative, to criticize anything that is contrary, to create doubt. The words that they love to use is inconclusive. There's a report. So they hire experts to counter the arguments by people that are saying, hey, this stuff is bad for you. And so when the tobacco industry was basically put out of business, all those same lobbyists and advertisement people moved over to the food industry. So you can't get any legislation passed that will protect the public. And we're literally poisoning our children. It's poison. It causes cancer. Do you realize that chronic diseases have gone up tenfold in America in the last 50 years? Tenfold. And where it's all stemmed from? Our diet, ultra-processed foods.
You in your writing speak from personal experience. You just wrote an article about how when you go to Italy, we're in Italy now, eating pasta every day. He's been eating pasta every day, not gaining weight.
Well, you know, it's true. And by the way, it's not just me saying this. I have so many friends. I know it's anecdotal, but I have so many friends that they say they come to Italy, they eat whatever they want to eat, they're fine. They get back to North America and they start eating there and they're gaining weight. It happened to me last month. I spent the entire month of September in LA. It's now October. And I was there with my wife and other people. And we ate there for a month and we all felt we had put on weight. And we thought we were eating basically the same things, but what's in them is what makes it hard. And you actually don't feel good when you eat food in America. You come to Italy, everything's local, everything's fresh. We don't have GMOs, and there are, most importantly, none of the additives or pesticides that are used in North America are allowed in places like Italy. Like, you think, they use 10 times more pesticides in America that's allowable in Europe. 10 times.
But don't you notice, Frank, that Europeans, I mean, Italians, they also ask more questions. They're also pickier with their food quality.
Yeah,
right?
Because they actually enjoy food. They celebrate food. In North America, food is meant to be fuel. You eat,
well, that's
and then
what
you go
we hear.
watch TV.
Food is just fuel.
You know how in Italy, when you have dinner or lunch, it's a 3-4 hour affair. In North America, you sit down, you eat. 15 minutes later, you're on the couch watching TV.
Right.
But I'm serious. I remember when I first came to Italy to visit my cousins when I was in my early 20s. I hadn't met my cousins before. They lived in Rome. And I came over and we, they make a dinner at night. We started eating at about 7, 8 o'clock. 11:30, 12, we're still at the dinner table talking, enjoying, celebrating the food. And the first thing I noticed when I got to Italy was how much better the food tasted. Everything. From tomatoes to anything, meat, chicken, it just looks different, it tastes different.
Well, and if I could share that story on that point about being in the moment and enjoying, one thing when I was in Italy during the summer with my family, Frank, and we were at the restaurants and I looked at the Italian children around, not one
was on the phone.
Yeah. And from that moment, I turned to my husband. I said, "That's it." Because they would be on YouTube a little bit, but I said 0.
Yeah, there's nothing more annoying when you're sitting in a restaurant. You see people around their kids; they're not even talking to each other. Like all the parents and the kids are all like on their phones, no conversation. You don't see that here. I don't think you see that here. Maybe with the new generation, but no. I've never seen it here.
But there's a difference. You were educating me before that even, pasta brands that we have in Italy versus North America, but how they're made, the quality, the ingredients that are made are completely different.
Well, yeah, when you think everybody in North America has these gluten allergies. You've heard that. Everybody, I have an allergy to gluten. You know what that is? I think it was 1993, they allowed the spraying of wheat with glyphosate. Glyphosate is a very nasty chemical. It prevents, obviously, the bugs from eating, and it preserves and everything. But it's poison. And that's when the gluten allergy thing came to be.
Yeah.
You know what the cure is? Come to Italy and eat Italian bread, because they certainly don't use it here. And you never feel like, I've heard people say that to have a gluten allergy, they come here, eat Italian bread, and all of a sudden their allergy's gone.
Well, if you can't beat the system, right? Do you think it's interesting that back home we're seeing this trend of more and more people growing their own veggies, doing their own? I know you have your own garden.
Yeah, we did the Million Gardens movement.
Yeah.
The entire purpose of it was to educate and promote the idea that you can grow food at home, grow your own food, and we empowered people through various educational tools and kits to get them started and whatever. And we took it across. I had a partner in it, and we took it across North America. It didn't work, didn't catch on for a number of reasons, but it was certainly the effort, and the idea was get people to grow their own food. Because when you go to the grocery store and you're buying produce, that produce has traveled thousands of miles in some cases, and they pick it when it's not ripe because it has to
Yeah.
right by the time it ripened, by the time it reaches you. But by the time it reaches you, all the nutrients are gone. I think what we see here in Italy is that a lot of people have local farms. And when you go to buy tomatoes, they're not coming from 1,000 miles away. They're coming from down the street, or the next town over, and that makes a huge difference. It's just the nutrition is gone. That's why I think one of the best things you can do if you're going to eat vegetables is buy fresh frozen, because it's picked, frozen, and it maintains its nutrients, as opposed to some of the vegetables that are sitting in the produce section, which is kind of weird. But it sounds kind of weird, but it actually is true.
So top 3 things I'll never find in your cupboard: Gatorade.
Yeah, well, I said, yeah, Gatorade. I'll tell you what you won't find at an Italian breakfast. Okay, coffee mate. It's banned in Europe. Ritz crackers.
You mean it's not milk?
Ritz crackers are not
Yes.
allowed in Europe, so you can't have cheese and Ritz crackers. There's so many things that you will not find in Europe. They're completely banned.
Wow. So now here we are
Yep.
on location at Domenica Fiore, where the magic happens.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the olive grove, one of many that we have all the way up this hill. And behind us, you can see that's Orvieto. And over there, we're building our masterpiece, which has been under construction
Truly.
for the last 4 years. As you know, we're in Umbria, which is not as popular with the tourists as, say, Tuscany or the Amalfi
Right.
Coast. And we're trying to draw people to this region. There are very few accommodations, and especially like the one we're building. This is a very rare occurrence in this region. So we want to create a destination that people can come and celebrate weddings and corporate retreats and family gatherings, whatever, and enjoy the food of this area, which is fantastic. We're going to test some tonight. And at the same time, learn how we make the world's best olive oil, which we do just behind the villa is our factory down at the bottom of the hill. And that's where we make the Domenica Fiore olive oil. So the idea is to bring people to the region and allow them to really enjoy what I come here for. I only come here because I love the food. I love the culture. And I've been drawn to this region for over 25 years now. And I want other people to enjoy what I enjoyed.
Opening in 2025.
Yes, correct.
Okay. People ask me, how does Frank Giustra decide the businesses he wants to take on? I mean, you were in the film business, obviously you're in the mining industry, everyone knows who you are. Mm-hmm. So what made you think, yeah, you know what, I want to go into olive oil?
Passion. My mother was an amazing cook. And we started vacationing here with friends and with Cesare, like I said, almost 25 years ago. And we just fell in love with the local cuisine. And then one day we're making dinner at another villa, and we're all in the kitchen, everybody's participating in the cooking, and someone brings up a nondescript jug of olive from the cellar, no label, anything, and starts pouring on a plate, and I start dipping my bread in, and I just go, holy cow, this is incredible. It was an amazing, almost spiritual experience, and I thought I need to learn more, and I started asking question after question, bought all the most expensive oils we could find. We did it by price only, because we knew nothing about oil, and we just did a blind taste test with 10 oils, and guess what, this one...
Domenica Fiore, which is a testament to your mom.
Yeah, it's
right.
And you know what? And
she is Domenica Fiore.
Her name is Domenica
Yes.
Fiore, and she lived long enough to see it become a global product. And I told her at the beginning, I said, Mom, I'm going to make you famous. She goes, you're going to make me famous? Yeah. And so I did. I said, everyone in the world knows what Domenica Fiore is. You're famous.
What did she think of all your success? I mean, did you ever have those conversations? Did she understand the magnitude? Because no,
she didn't care.
She didn't care.
She didn't care. My mother cared about family gatherings and making sure that everybody attended family dinners, that everybody left satisfied and would come back the following Sunday. And for her, that was life. Life was just family gatherings and making sure that we all cared for each other and loved each other. And one of the last things she said to me is, take care of everybody. Just make sure you take care of everybody.
You could miss anything else, but you can't miss Sunday lunch.
No, you know this, right? For many years I lived in London, England. She still expected me to show up for Sunday dinner. So sometimes I would get on a plane on a Saturday from London and just
Wow.
fly home so that I would be
Yeah.
there and make her happy
It
for
means
Sunday
business.
dinner. Yeah.
We're continuing our wonderful discovery of the Umbrian region now on location here at an archaeological site that they have opened for us today. I'm with La Professoressa Stopponi, who is overseeing this incredible site where the Etruscans once roamed.
Annualmente i rappresentanti delle principali 12 città dell'Etruria per celebrare cerimonie religiose. Infatti finiscono di fronte a quell'edificio che è il nostro Tempio C, dedicato ad una divinità matronale, perché abbiamo trovato una coppa con scritto Atial, e Atial è il genitivo di Ati, e Ati in etrusco significa madre.
Quindi la donna era molto importante.
Ah sì, ma le dee erano tutte importanti, questa era una dea. Comunque gli Etruschi erano l'unico popolo dell'antichità che avesse rispetto, e le donne, per esempio, erano molto colte. Sapevano leggere i presagi, ereditavano, sostituivano i mariti nel governo quando i mariti andavano in guerra, e soprattutto questo gettava scandalo tra i greci e i romani, banchettavano.
Frank, it's just pretty incredible that we're basically, sitting on this site of the Etruscans, people that ruled for 600 years.
Yeah. Before the Romans.
Before the Romans came and took over. Just another example of an empire that failed. Yeah. And they never thought they would.
No, none of them ever do, ever. They always think it will last forever. It's really interesting. I look at, and I love going to historical sites. I just love it because, it just reminds you that these great civilizations, they come and they go. Great powers, they come and they go, and they all make the same mistakes. And the reason they fail is because they make the same mistakes over and over again. And I'm especially interested in the declining phase of any civilization or great power, because that's when it corrupts. And all ruling systems, no matter what ideology they are, they all corrupt eventually. And so when you look at, if you want to talk about America today, for instance, the great power on the decline. Yeah. And I have, I have great disdain for today's politicians. I really do, because there's no honor there. They're there for the money and the power. And they're not listening to the people. They're just simply, they're pigs at the trough. Eric Weinstein, I don't know if you ever listened to Eric, he's a brilliant commentator, very smart guy. And he calls them pigs at the trough. And he says that, basic politicians will go to their electorate and say, what do you want? What can we give you? And the electorate says, well, stop being pigs at the trough. And they go, well, we can't give you that. What else do you want? Yeah. Because that's why they're there in the first place. They don't want that taken away from them. Right. And so if you look at how America's evolved and what it is today, the way I like to describe it is if you were to take a kleptocracy and marry it to an oligarchy and they had a baby, it would be America. And that's exactly how it's run. It's run by money and power. It's a ruling class that gets, has to be pre-chosen by whoever holds the reins of power. And it just creates a scenario where all they care about is what that position can do for them. And it's no different than, say, in the Roman times when, the senators became very, very corrupt. The Senate was completely ineffective because it was so corrupt. And that's part of the reason why it turned into it went from a republic into an imperial system with dictators, or emperors. Right. And I think that one of the problems, there's a dilemma in America today where you have basically two camps. The bottom 50% of voters want more government expenditure. and the other 50% don't want to pay for it.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And so you have this tug of war between these classes, and the politicians prey on that. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then, because the lessons are there in history, right? And if that period of decline, shows that evidence, why do we never learn our lesson if we know history repeats?
Yeah, well, and that's a really good question. And the only answer I can come up with is that if you look at, if we just take the last 500 years of the civilizations, the great global powers in the last 500 years were mostly European and then American powers. Their cycles lasted roughly 70 to 100 years. That was a normal cycle, the rise and fall of a great power. The Spaniards, the French, the British, the Dutch, and now America. And that's, if you think about it, that's the average lifespan, the memory of a living person, 70 years, maybe 100 years. And I think the reason we don't learn is because the new generation that follows the one that fell apart and suffered has never had that experience. No, they can read about it, but if you've never had that experience, you don't fear an outcome. And I always use my parents as an excuse. They grew up during the Depression and World War II in Europe.
Right.
Okay. And man, they suffered. And so, they had certain values coming out of that the next generation didn't have. And certainly as the generations unfold.
And they didn't want you to experience the pain.
Of course not. Of course not. But they never made certain mistakes either. Like my father was a great saver, would never borrow money. He just had a principle. He just didn't borrow money, and not even to buy a house. And that's because he just didn't believe. He saw what happened to people that had debt. And when a depression comes, you get wiped out. You're gone. Everything's gone. So, it's. I think that's the only reason I can come up with is that an average lifespan is the average lifespan of the last 5 or 6 great powers that we've seen over the last 500 years.
The other thing that struck me was the role that gold played. Now, the Etruscans weren't using it as money yet until the Romans ended up using money. But I think you made me really realize that point that gold, only in the last 50 years?
Yeah, no. So gold has only not been money for since 1971. Right. You think about it.
Yeah.
Gold's been money throughout history for a few thousand years. So about 600 BC is when the first coin was created in Lydia. And it's only in the last 50 years that the world decided that gold was not going to be used as the core of money. Although it really still is as far as the rest of the world is concerned. Outside of North America, you think about the Chinese, the Saudis, the Russians, almost every country that exists outside of, say, the G7 believes that gold is money. And a store of wealth.
And others think that Bitcoin's going to fill that.
But listen, I've got ties that have been around longer than Bitcoin. It's been around marginally longer than the tulip mania.
You're going to get the cyber hornet started.
I don't care, but the point is it's not proven. Now, they can aspire, and I know that Bitcoin maxis have aspired to make Bitcoin be something, okay? And it's changed, as I said the other day, it's changed so many narratives as to what NASA's in search of a purpose. But it hasn't proven itself yet. So to me, you can aspire to be something, but it's not fact. So you can't tell me that Bitcoin is the same as gold, and certainly doesn't behave in any way like gold. You saw the other day when, the invasion of Lebanon and then the Iranian missiles were shot at Israel, gold goes up, Bitcoin gets slammed down because it's not a safe haven, it's not a store of value, it's not an inflation hedge, it's not a anti-dollar. They say all those things, but it does not behave that way.
And I know you've been very vocal on the fact that the central banks have, record-breaking numbers in terms of the gold. Why are some like China, Saudi Arabia hesitant to report the real numbers?
Well, I came into this business as a trader on a trading desk. And the one valuable lesson that you learn when you're a trader is if you're trying to accumulate anything, a stock, whatever, you don't show your hand. Because what happens when you show your hand, especially if you're Saudi Arabia or China, you're just going to drive the price up. People are going to front run you, and you're not going to get your position at the price you wanted. So to me, as China and Saudi Arabia, we've seen proof just by seeing where the gold flows from Swiss refineries, and it ends up in certain places, but they don't officially report it. I think the last time Saudi Arabia reported was 2008. China hasn't reported for a couple of years now. They report sporadically, and I think they're hiding a lot of their gold. I mean, 2,200 tons is not their position. They're the world's largest importer. Now, when you think about the gold traffic today, between Russia and China are the two largest producers. India and China are the two largest importers. Okay, that's 3/4 of the BRICS. Okay, and they're doing it for a reason. I keep saying they're not doing this for just giggles.
People are probably going to say, Frank, well, how long until the wheels come off for America then? If you're studying the decline,
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I'd be guessing. Like I said, it's not decades. I think it's years. Okay, whether it's 5 or 10 or 15, but it's not. So people think that the U.S. dollar is going to be the reserve currency for decades and decades and decades. I hear that all the time, and I think that's just absolute arrogance and ignorance. They just don't understand how quickly things are going the other direction.
And looking back in history, because you're an incredible student of history, in the decline of every empire, no one has ever been able to save it.
No. Once it's in the decline, it becomes so corrupt and so broken and so indebted.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part, that it's become so indebted that they dig the hole so deep, and then they have to cheat and again, printing money is one form of cheating. In the old days, when they had the coins, they used to shave the coins or put other metals into them. It was the same idea. It was diluting money. It was lowering the value of money. Today, they can do it in the click of a button. All of a sudden, they create $1 trillion. One button is out of thin air. It doesn't exist. That money is funny money.
Just sitting here, which is just an incredible experience. They opened this up for us today. You feel an energy here, right? And just to think, getting back to your main point of people were coming and going, right? And we spend so much of our lives just fixated on the small things, and then being here, at least for me, it's such a lesson that, wow.
You get perspective.
You really do get perspective.
You get perspective that, what is our significance? So this is my favorite part of the Domenica Fiore estate, the tunnels leading to the cave. I don't know why I like it so much, but I think this is going to be a very cool experience for people to come down here. We're going to have obviously wine down here and a tasting table and antiques and what have you.
And talk to me about what I'm looking at. Are these ancient seashells?
This was millions of years ago. This was a shallow sea. And so everywhere on this property we find seashells and fossils. We have found some really large shells here. That's why the soil is so rich.
Wow.
It's because it was an ancient seabed. It's very rich in limestone and nutrients. That's why the trees here, if you look at the way the olive trees grow here compared to the other side of the valley, there's another hill there where it's clay. And there wasn't a seabed there. The trees are scrawny over here. They're very robust.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty cool. Shall we sit?
Yeah. Wow. What do we have here? A table set?
You know what we have here? It's all local ingredients. So this goat cheese farm is a local farm that we've been going to for years.
Okay. So much for us not eating our way through Italy, Frank.
Yeah, I know.
But your article said we don't gain weight.
We're not going to gain any weight, no, because it's Italian, Italy. You don't gain weight here. And this is a local butcher, some salami and prosciutto and local bread from the bakery. And obviously there's our olive oil, which we all know. And the best wine of this district is the Orvieto Classico, which is this white wine, the grapes. We have actually couple of hectares on the property of the grapes, and we're going to try. We currently sell them to Antinori, but we're going to try and make our own Fiore, Domenica Fiore wine just for our guests.
Wow, that's
that's
news to me.
Yeah, well, why not? We have
not?
grapes. They're lovely grapes, so we might as well make good use of them.
Well,
great food.
Can I pour you some more?
Yeah, please. Great wine, great friendship. I mean, what more do we need in life, Frank?
That's it. You know, honestly, I keep telling you that all the most important things in life are family, friends, and celebrating food. Really.
Salute.
Salute.
Well, I want to say thank you for inviting us into your home, into your life, and into your thoughts. I've learned so much on this trip. I mean, in terms of reconnecting with Mother Nature, which Miguel taught us, that you just have to get in the dirt sometimes.
That's right.
To learning about history and reflecting back on the fact that there's been so many empires and people who have walked before us. And, you know, one thing that has remained was your lesson when you were teaching me about the crossing of the Rubicon. Can you share that story?
No, we've all heard the
Yeah.
expression. It means no going back. And so this was all about Julius Caesar when he was about to march on Rome, which was forbidden. You know, generals were not allowed to bring their armies into Rome in those days, in the days of the Republic. And he was coming in from Gaul, and there's a river that separates France from Italy, today, modern day France from Italy, and it's called the Rubicon. And he stopped at the Rubicon River, and he had to make a decision because he knew once he crossed that river, there was no going back. He was going to put his fate, his life up, to the gods in terms of because it was going to be either a war or with the Senate and others that were against him. So anyways, that was crossing the Rubicon, and he crossed the Rubicon and obviously changed history.
So he crossed the Rubicon and didn't look back.
Couldn't go back. Once he went, it was the idea that once you make a certain decision in life, you can't go back.
Which brings me to my next point, because there's one thing that you said in our last sit down in Oviedo that haunted me, that haunts me.
What's that?
Well, I remember you said you live your life with no regrets.
Right.
And I find myself many times thinking maybe I should have done that, reflecting on past decisions. How does one live with no regret and do a Julius Caesar of, once you make that call or make that decision, you just don't look back?
Because I was thinking, what's the point? What's the point of looking back? And my philosophy was very simple. When you asked me that question, I said, listen, every decision I've made in my life, like anybody else, has brought me to this point in time. Here I am sitting here today having this conversation with you, and I feel at peace, I'm happy, I'm content, I think that I'm living a good life. So why would I regret anything, even the mistakes that I made, even the most horrible moments in my life, the ups and the downs? Why dwell on that stuff? Because here I am. So every decision I made led me to this point, this moment in time, and I'm happy, and I feel at peace. That's why I just think it's a waste of time to sit back, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's all part of the journey.
So even when you look back on your failures, right?
Yeah.
Which you say
Plenty.
you've embraced, right? And have brought you obviously to where you are today. So even on those failures, you're not thinking, well, man, I wish I had done that.
Waste of time. I've been accused of never reflecting on the past, even when things were, terrible. But I always say, I don't care. I'm here. It doesn't matter. You made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. The only way you learn anything in life is through mistakes. You don't learn through successes. You learn through failure. Because when you make a mistake or you have a failure in your life, it sticks, and you go, well, I won't do that again. Whereas when you have successes, you think you're a genius, and everything you do is perfect. You learn nothing.
So what happens when you are at a crossroads, right? And you're torn between two decisions, or if your kids come to you and say, Dad, I really, don't know which path to take.
Yeah.
What are some ways we can come to what we think is the right decision?
It's a gut feeling. I call it a voice. And I've said this my entire life. And I think many of us have this. I certainly do. It's like there's a voice that is speaking to you at every moment in time, and that voice is telling you or giving you hints of what's right and what's wrong, what's the right path, what's the wrong path. And I just follow the voice. And the voice has, it's not a voice, but it's a, I'm getting direction from something. And it says, without explaining why, and this has happened so many times in my life, without explaining why, it goes, do this. It doesn't give me the reason why. And sometimes the order to do this or that doesn't make any sense at the time. And certainly many times in my life I've made decisions where people go, well, why would you? I said I didn't think about it. It felt right. The voice said do it. And I did it, and in hindsight it always worked out. Although the path may have not been what I had imagined, it always works out, and I go, wow, that voice said do this. And I did that, and here I am going, it was the right decision, because I could have gone in another direction in that decision, and who knows what would have happened. But the decision I made led me to believe that I made the right decision.
It's a loaded question, but who's the voice? Is it your voice, a guardian angel? Is it a higher being?
I don't know. I believe, well, this all comes back to what is really going on in here, and I've got many theories and ideas about what's going on, but I believe that there's something else, going on here that we, and I mean this in scientific terms, we still don't understand what is going on, what this reality is, what we're experiencing, and there's so many theories about our existence, and I just believe that we're still far too primitive to understand and recognize what this is all about. But it's something that we don't understand.
Do you think that everyone has a purpose?
I don't know about everybody. I certainly believe that about my own life, that I went through life believing certain things at the beginning and then discovering other ideas, and finally it took me a really long time, but I found my purpose, and when I found it, it gave me peace. It was, I did not have peace before I understood what my real purpose here was, which I believe is my philanthropic work and my educational work, educating people and doing philanthropic work around the world. That gives me peace. So it feels like it was my purpose.
We have a lot of people in the audience watching who are entrepreneurs or want to embark on their own business, don't want to work for anyone else. Obviously, you've had tremendous success in multiple fields and multiple sectors. And I know on our off-camera conversations, you've told me, hey, Daniela, a lot of has come down to luck, right? Which I think there's a lot more to it than luck. But there could be an element of luck. But do you think some people are just not cut out for being an entrepreneur? Is it something that can be learned? Is it a natural skill set?
No, entrepreneurship, I truly believe, is you're born with it or you're not. No one can teach you to be an entrepreneur. It's not a course in university. It's, although they do have courses, but they don't teach you anything. It's your own. It comes from within. It's a drive to create something, to take risks, to believe in yourself, to do things that other people won't do. So I think you're either born with it or you're not. There are entrepreneurs and people that are not.
We met Michele, the truffle hunter, right?
He's great.
And he exudes passion.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be transmitted through the video, but to be around him, when he entered the room, the energy changes. And some people just have that, that magnitude, that power.
Arrive on this is only for the passion, only for...
And now people come...
Si dice in Italia, penso tu Frank, quando i tuoi genitori sono andati in Canada e anche tu sei partito da zero, e quando metti la passione fai un culo così, fai un culo così.
Do you seek out people like that and want to surround yourself with that energy?
Yeah, because I'm very passionate when I take a project on, whether it's food or whether it's the finance business or whether it's making movies, making music, creating music, quantum physics, which as you know I love. All of those things are passions. They're passions first and then they become something else later. And they would never evolve into something important unless I was passionate about it. And it's passion that gets you through the difficult times in anything you choose to do in life. If you're truly passionate about a career choice, you will it will get you through the tough times, which everybody has. The second part of it is, especially if you're an entrepreneur trying to sell an idea, it's contagious. Passion. You felt it with Miguel, right? He's passionate. He's digging the dirt and making jokes and kissing his dog and all this stuff. And you felt you were drawn into his passion.
Right.
It's contagious.
Right. And he also said, when he chose this path, he wasn't thinking about the money, even his brother Andrea. It's just because they have a passion for food. He loves being in the woods. He wants to be connected with Mother Nature. So he chose a path of, this is what I want to be doing in life. Yeah. And they have a very successful business. I mean, Mario Draghi eats there once a week now. Whether that's a measure of success or not, okay, that's a different story. But you get the gist. So do you believe in that when you're choosing what you want to do in life, right? That a big part of it is you should be doing what you love, and then the money will follow.
Well, yeah, no, it's exactly what I told my kids when I said, when they're university age and thinking about their own careers, and I said to both of them, and I meant this, is like, before you think about the money, choose something you love. That comes first, because remember, whatever you choose, you're going to have to live with. If you don't love it, it's going to be a very dreary experience. So as I choose that, the money will follow, but at least you'll be happy. And obviously, like all of us, I want my kids to be happy. And there's a great, I don't know if you've heard of the philosopher Alan Watts. He was a great philosopher from the 60s and 70s, and he did this lecture, which was basically aimed at university kids that were trying to figure out their career paths. And he said, listen, choose what you love. The money will follow, because if you love it, you will become great at it. And once you become great at it, you can turn it into an income. He says, what is the point of working at something you don't love? So working at something you don't like just to make money to be able to continue to work at something you don't like. What a waste of life. It was an interesting concept, and I thought, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I've said the same thing to my kids.
So to those parents who really want their kid to become a doctor a lawyer?
I mentor, I do. I've got this, we created this organization called the Boys Club Network about 27, 28 years ago, and it's a lot about mentoring young boys at risk, that come from, dysfunctional families, et cetera, problem families. And I always, I tell them that, because we do a Q&A after I do my talk, and some of the questions I get asked a lot is like, my parents want me to be a this and a that, and what do you think? I said, listen, with all due respect to your parents, this is not their life, okay? You have to make a decision that is right for you. Do not listen to your parents. They're doing it because they love you, whatever, but you have to pick. And if a parent says, well, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, but you don't care about being a doctor, why would you ruin your life and do something that you don't love? So I said, please, with all due respect, ignore your parents and choose what you feel is right for you. And, and I say that to my own kids. I don't want I have no desire for my sons, for instance, to be in my business. I said, he may choose to, but that's not my desire. And I said to him, just pick something that you love and do that, and I'll be happy. You're happy, I'll be happy.
So on that, I want to try this salami, because I smell this. I smell it from here.
And by the way, I forgot to tell you, we got some Della tomatoes from the garden here, from just in the back of the house here. Have you tried these before? Very sweet tomatoes. A few years ago, we actually canned them and sold them. But they make the most incredible sauce.
Oh my God.
And it's a sauce that you make without cooking the sauce. I just take the Della, put them in a blender, bunch of olive oil, Domenica Fiore olive oil, a little bit of salt, blend it all, and then you put it in a bowl and put just some basil leaves in there and cover it and leave it on the counter for 8 hours. Then you make your pasta. Cook the pasta, drain the pasta, put it in a pan, and with this uncooked sauce, just heat it up. Oh my God, it is unbelievable. This is the most amazing sauce.
No cook recipe except for the pasta.
Except for the pasta.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
And this is delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to get back to lessons for your kids and money. As you know, I'm a relatively new at the parent game. I mean, my twins are now 4.5, and I spoil them. I'm guilty of that. I want to give them the world, and so
Yeah.
does my husband.
Yeah. Be careful with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to ask you is that, you know, and I've interviewed other people on the show who have said they don't give their kids anything, any part of their wealth. I mean, where do you fall on that spectrum? Do you...
You know, it's an interesting dilemma because it
Yeah.
is a dilemma. You as a loving parent want
Yeah.
your kids to be happy. You want them to have everything that they want. But you don't want to create a spoiled child that had, you know, or a trust fund baby, which all these things that you do, you know, you want to stay away from that. So it's a delicate balance. And what I found, like everybody's got their own approach to this. I'm not saying ours was the right way, but the way we raised my two older kids is that we told them from the time they were this high, we said, see all this stuff around you? There's, you know, the art on the wall, it's not yours. It does not belong to you. We said,
You're not gonna get it?
No, we told them we're gonna donate it all to charity at the end of the day. So but we said, listen, we'll give you a great start in life. We'll give you the best education that you can handle. And then you get to choose your own career. And we're going to wish you well, and you know, and that'll be that. And so that was one part of it.
Okay.
But understand
Okay.
one thing about kids that I learned a long time ago is that they don't listen to what you say; they watch what you do. Okay, you can say things to them all day long, and they'll go, but they'll see how you behave and what you do, and if you're being a hypocrite, you know, in your teachings, you know. So both the mother of my children and myself had philanthropic endeavors. She's very much a humanitarian in her own right, does her own things, completely outside of my own philanthropic work. And so they were raised watching all that and being exposed to the fact that we wanted to help other people in different ways. And so we said to them at the beginning, we said, guys, you know, if you're ever interested in this philanthropic stuff, let us know, and then, you know, you can certainly be part of it later on in life. I took my son, this was a funny story, I took my son to I was giving a speech at the Boys Club Network, and I said, come along and listen to what I have to say, and you know, might pick something up. So I do this whole thing, and there's a Q&A, and he's listening. We get in the car to drive home, he goes, Dad, I want to be a philanthropist. And I said, Nick, get a job first. You got to get a job first, make some money, then we can talk about you being a philanthropist. He goes, I'm going to be a philanthropist. And I thought, it was very noble of him, but you know, at the end of the day, our goal is to, you know, make sure that they're well educated, they are on a career path that they want to take on, and then we can figure out other stuff later.
It's got to be so hard, especially when you have a super successful father, right? Like yourself, or you know, or dad or mother who's built a business, and you have this expectation of you just want to make your parents proud. I mean, I feel like I just want to make my parents proud, right?
I think there's an element of that, definitely. You know, I think that the kids do deep down want to. I know I spent my entire early adult life wanted to please my father, who never believed that I would ever succeed. And so I spent the first 20 years of my business life trying to show him that I was
and it's crazy because I know you told me even when you made it and you were he still couldn't, he was still referring to the sister of the lawyer.
The only success story in my family was my sister,
that's crazy.
because she became a lawyer, and he wanted us all to be lawyers, doctors, and engineers. That was his whole.
Because it's an easy concept. They could tell, my son's a lawyer, my son's a doctor. How do you sum up what Frank Giustra does? Yeah, my other son.
It's you know, he always thought that I was, you know, walking on thin ice, and that I was going to blow up, and that I was taking too many risks, which I don't. I'm not a huge risk taker. You know, I'm very careful and calculated. But no, in his world, it was like he didn't understand what I was trying to do, and to him, it was like very dangerous that I was really putting myself out there.
When you're talking about your philanthropic work, I mean, it made me remember an interview I recently did with a guest, with someone who's very successful that we both know, who feels when it comes to philanthropy and handouts, especially with the migrant issue that is top mind and of the political agenda right now, that we shouldn't be giving a helping hand.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've got friends that we both know that believe that.
And I even asked this person, so you're telling me when you're passing a migrant, mom with her babies, holding a sign like "Please just help," and I'm the biggest sucker. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, you just got to keep walking."
Okay, so here's my take on that. Because
Yeah.
I've had these debates with people that do not believe that philanthropy is useful, that they have no obligation to other people. And I have two things to say about that.
Yeah.
One is, it's easy to say when you're sitting in the comforts of a lifestyle that, you have everything available to you. You have enough wealth that you can pay the bills and have great dinners and you can travel. And so when you're not in somebody else's shoes, you cannot understand their experience. And I've always said that unless you walk in somebody else's shoes for a moment in time to really understand where they're coming from, their experience, you will never get it. So, people that make those claims, philanthropy is not important. Hey, that's great to say it from your ivory tower, but go and experience the life of a very, very poor person in Latin America, a refugee that's sitting in a refugee camp somewhere, or someone that is in bad health and has no access to medical attention in certain countries. All of the things that plague the world. If you have never experienced that, then you can't judge. Making those statements is pretty self-centered and selfish. And listen, I'll give you one example where this really came home to me, is when I got involved in the Syrian refugee crisis. And a friend of mine was begging me. He was there in Lesbos, which was where all the Syrian refugees were coming in from Turkey, and people were drowning, boats were sinking. It was an absolute nightmare. And we barely read about it in the news in the West. It was barely mentioned. But he kept saying to me, "Frank, you have no idea what's going on. This is insane. You got to get over here." And I just knew that if I went, I would have to take it on because I know myself. And I kept resisting and resisting. He finally begged me. I said, "Okay, I'll come." And I went over to Lesbos. And I had the most incredible awakening because, late one night we were driving back from a refugee camp, and we were driving along this dark road to get back to the place we were staying. And in the dark, we saw a light out in the ocean, and you could see some lights on the shore, and our driver said, "Hey, looks like a refugee boat is coming in the middle of the night. We should stop," because we had a film crew with us. And we stopped and we went on the beach, and there's two burly guys that I thought were like humanitarians. They were actually the Albanian mafia, which was making a fortune bringing refugees in and out of Turkey to Greece, whatever. Anyway, so on the beach, and all of a sudden you hear these voices out in the dark, and you hear women crying and praying. Then they landed on the beach, and two of us went out and we grabbed this boat, and we were helping people off. And this woman hands me her little toddler, and it hit me. Just like, what the heck? This is weird. They have nothing. They come with just their backpacks. They have no money. They don't know where they're going. They're just single mothers and children, whatever. And I thought, oh my God, if people really understood this, like experienced it, then they would have a different perspective. And I tried to go back home and tell people, and it was hard because I couldn't give them my experience. It was impossible. And I finally gave up, and I got mad because I thought, they don't get it. And I can't explain it to them.
And I know we've spoken a lot about the fear-mongering. That's part of the political rhetoric, as we're seeing it obviously now during this campaign. And you kind of made me reflect on the fact, well, it's always been that way around whomever was immigrating to a country. It happened with the Italians, it happened with the Irish.
The Polish,
with the Polish, right.
The Indians, in every generation you have it seems you have a new ethnic group coming in as the new immigrants. And they're always treated horribly. My father told me his story. He came to Canada from Italy in 1949 after the war, and no money. He was absolutely flat broke, nothing. and he had to figure it out. He just got here and he had to figure out, how to do it. And it was hard, and people mistreated him, and he was, cheated and mistreated and made to work like a slave and treated as a third-rate citizen, like almost not human. And so then you watch others that have come throughout, in every set of immigrants faces the same criticism, labeling, and, just by the people that are already established, who are probably immigrants themselves, at some point in time. And so, yeah, it just is what it is.
It's just back to your underlying theme that history repeats, lessons are not learned.
That's what I'm going to have some more.
Go for it. Look at that green.
Oh, come on, you got to look at this. I don't know if you can see that. That's so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, I love this. I can just eat bread and olive oil.
I want to slice the bread too, please.
Okay, let me
grab it with your hands.
Yeah, can I pour it?
Please. And you said we're going from young to old here, right?
So I want to try the fresh daily cheese, which is this one here.
It's so beautiful. Look at
I
this.
remember it's my favorite.
This was made with passion.
Yep. Somebody loves goat cheese making.
Yeah, and he's happy, right?
Yeah.
You know the goat farmer.
Yeah, I know. I've been there so many times. We go there every harvest.
And you said he's quite something, right?
Yeah.
He's doing what he loves.
He loves doing what he
right?
loves. He and his wife have this farm in the middle. It's like very rustic. There's nothing fancy about this place. But boy, he makes great cheese.
And you make great olive oil.
Well,
And you refuse to stop. I always say, because you could just ride off into the sunset, be like, you know what?
how boring would that be? If you stop, I think you die. I honestly believe that. I think if you stop, your brain stops, your body stops.
Retirement.
Yeah, retirement I think is a waste of time.
So that you plan to never retire.
Why would I? And do what? Watch TV, Twinkies? What am I going to do with my day? I like to be busy. I like to keep my brain active. By writing all those articles that I write, I have to educate myself on different topics all the time. I do a tremendous amount of research before I write an article on a topic. Something I might know a little bit about, then I have to really dig deep because I want it to be factual and and relevant. So I believe that if you don't your brain is like a muscle, like any muscle. If you don't exercise it.
So as we're eating here, and I'm in this cave under sand, seashells that have been here for millions of years, speaking with you about life, eating this incredible food. Is this moment even real? Like, is it all a dream?
Yeah.
Is it real?
It could be. It might be. It probably is. But it might not be. And there's so many theories about reality. And again, this is going to get weird, okay? But again, everything I'm about to say is based on scientific experiments and study and knowledge. I'm not picking stuff out of the air here. As you know, I've done a really deep dive into quantum physics and general relativity and the whole concept of quantum gravity. Quantum gravity, as you might remember, is the theory, the elusive theory that combines our understanding of space-time, general relativity, with quantum mechanics. And the idea, because they're two perfect theories that contradict each other, and so the idea of quantum gravity theory is to bring those two together so you have one unified theory that explains our entire reality. And we created the Quantum Gravity Institute in Vancouver a couple of years back to do exactly that, to find theories that are matched to experiments that will test certain theories of quantum gravity, okay? So that, I don't want to get too deep into it, but that's how the next part of my experience came from. It came from my interest in that, in physics, okay? So, consciousness. The most elusive thing in our reality is consciousness.
Why do you want to understand it and study? Why is it important? And just be like, you know what, this is just too deep for me. I'm just gonna.
No, but listen, it's everything. Here, think about this. Think about this, okay? This is the part. Where consciousness is derived, where it comes from, is We don't know. We have no idea. No scientists in the world. Ask yourself, what is consciousness?
Yeah.
And we do people describe it. Because consciousness is that we are sentient beings. We're sitting here, we're self-aware. We know we exist. We know that we know we exist.
Right.
Okay, we have feelings, we visualize colors, we have emotions, we have memory, we have a whole range of experiences that cannot be explained. So if you can build the fanciest computer in the world, equipped with AI, I don't care what it's got, it is not conscious. It is not self-aware. It doesn't know that it exists. It doesn't understand what it is. It can compute things and come to conclusions. But here we are, we're very different to that. And no scientist has ever been able to locate where consciousness is derived. Is it part of the biological brain? Perhaps. Is it something that resides outside our biological brain, which is becoming more and more theories are coming out that it is not part of our of our biological self. That, in other words, that the brain is not the substrate that creates the conscious experience. And there are several theories out there by some very prominent people that theorize where it may be derived. And let me give you, and this becomes very important, because once you understand that perhaps consciousness might not be part of our biological self, it might question everything else about our reality.
Well, I was going to ask you, because why does it matter?
I'll tell you why it matters, because there's something else. And
After this, or
something
bigger, obviously bigger than us.
Bigger, and maybe after, but definitely bigger, and definitely something that, and here's, what I don't believe is that out of nothing came something. So, we have the Big Bang Theory, which suggests that there was nothingness, and when I mean nothing, there was no space, no time, no anything, like nothingness, and out of nothing came something. But here we are, we're two individuals having a conversation, a deep philosophical conversation. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's how it all happened, that this is a random accident of physics, and here we are having this conversation. I believe it's something else, and it could be many things. I mean, there's so many explanations, panpsychism, which suggests that all things in the universe have some level of consciousness, and that the more integrated they get, the higher the conscious experiences. So there's that. There's all sorts of stuff. And I mean, I could list them off, but it'd just be very, very boring for the audience. But so it leads me to believe that there's something bigger. Are we a simulation? There's the whole simulation theory, which is Nick Bostrom's theory from Oxford, who said, there's a third chance, he said, that this is not real. That we are, with the advancements of virtual reality and computing speeds, that we could be creating this experience from a computer. Okay, a little wacky.
Wait, or there's a simple answer that, the bigger thing is God, Frank.
Okay, so a lot of people,
please take a sip.
Yeah, now you're getting into the God.
Now we need
Okay, so define God. God is defined as a creator. Okay, I'll buy that. Can the creator be a previous artificial intelligence, a previous alien intelligence, some other thing we yet don't understand that put all of this into motion, okay, and is responsible for this experience that we're having is it us playing a game with ourselves? And again, I'll go back to Alan Watts. He had another great YouTube video. You watch this, he did a lecture back in the 70s, and it was titled, look it up, What If When You Die You Wake Up? And it's a really fascinating thought experiment. And you should look it up, I won't explain it, but it's the idea that, are we playing a game with ourselves? Is this some incredible game that we created, our consciousness, whatever, now we're experiencing this, and then when we die, we actually wake up?
Well, on that note,
well, I'm just going to say, that's one. And there's several others, really, and I honestly believe that we're just too primitive yet to fully understand this, and we may, as I said, we may never get there, or this may be a journey to figure it out, who knows, but it's far too complex for me to believe that it was just like poof, out of nothing, and here we are.
And on that note, not that it's a light note to end on here, but...
Sorry, I got deep there.
No, but, just bringing it back to the fact
I know you've spoken and took a deep dive with people who are at death's door.
Yep, I've had many experiences with that.
And you found like a common denominator
Yeah.
that it's almost that's when they
every
realize
time.
they should have lived more.
Every time. I had quite a few friends, you know, on their deathbed, and I spend a lot of time in conversations, long conversations, when they know that they're about to die. Okay, when they actually go, okay, this is it. And I'll tell you, it's so consistent that it's, you know, it makes so much sense. Basically, the two basic things are, why did I spend all that time worrying about money? Who cares? Money and material things. And that there's only one important thing left, and that's love. And that's the only, I'll tell you, several of them have told me, the only thing that you take away with you is love. Everything else you leave behind. So what I say to all of my friends is this, okay, listen. If you have excess wealth, keep reminding yourself that someday you're going to die. Keep reminding yourself. And that all of that money that you have and all of mean nothing. They go away. You don't take it. It just means, it becomes absolutely meaningless at the moment of your death. So why not spend if you have excess wealth, why not spend your life, enjoy your life. I don't say, you know, become a monk, but enjoy your life and enjoy your successes. But with your excess wealth, take care of other people, help other people. First of all, it will give you a sense of purpose, which is what I found, is that, yeah, it's not just about me, it's about other people, and that there was a reason why you existed, and a reason why you were here, and that you made other people's lives better just by being here and existent. And I'll end it by saying this. There's an old Italian proverb. At the end of the game, the king and the pawn go back in the same box. That tells you everything you need to know. Drink some wine. Cheers.